what would you personally advise immigrant who are actually going through this to do? We have
I'd advise people to lie low. People have to lie low. Avoid things like getting traffic tickets, speeding, small things that can cause you a big problem. I have a case right now, and the person was speeding a little bit in a school zone and was arrested. And before you know it, ICE was called, and now he's in detention. And now we're trying to get him out.
welcome to another compelling episode of the One Africa Show, where we unpack the biggest stories shaping African lives around the world. I'm your host, Patrick Newman, broadcasting all the way from Washington, D.C. Today, we confront a heavy but urgent subject: immigration enforcement in the United States of America under the Trump administration's renewed policy and ICE aggressive action. African immigrants are increasingly finding themselves in the crossfire. From abrupt detention to long term deportation threat, many in our community are living in fear, often with little guidance or legal help. Joining us today is someone on the front line of this issue, an expert in immigration law, advocate for human rights, and a trusted voice in our community, Attorney Blaise Odiambo. We'll ask him, what rights do African migrants have? What should you do if I shows up at your door? And what policy are hurting African migrant the most? Alrighty, Mr. Blaise Odiambo, thank you for coming to our show today. Let's get into it. Under the Trump renewed immigration agenda, we are seeing increased raid and deportation. Can you break down and how this shift specifically impact African immigrants in the United States?
All right. Thank you very much for allowing me to join your podcast to discuss this very critical matter at this juncture. The the immigration shift by the Trump administration has been extremely drastic. And when I use extremely, I'm not using the word lightly. As you can see, most people are aware, after when Trump campaigned, he campaigned with the fact that he says he's going to have a mass deportation. So when people are voting for him, they knew very well there's going to be mass deportation. I think what people did not realize is how serious he was with this. And he has proven the fact that he's very serious about it at the moment. The mass deportation process that he started, that he talked about, he implemented almost immediately. He was first supported by the Congress that passed what we call the Lincoln-Riley Act. This act allowed immigration officials and ICE to be able to detain somebody as long as they've been charged with a crime. Prior to that, it was unless you've been convicted, that's when it becomes serious. But right now, a charge is enough for you to be sent home. So the impact we've seen, if you have to ask, the impact we've seen is first, there'll be numerous raids. First, they'll be targeting people they believe have criminal records. Then after that, people with previous deportation orders. Those are also they're also being targeted. And then there's people who are just here and have no papers whatsoever. So as you can see what's going on, they are currently arresting anybody they find who is not a legal immigrant or who is not here in the United States legally. So their process is too broad. And that broadness that is causing a lot of problems with most immigrants. And that is making a lot of, especially Africans in the diaspora, to go through a lot of anxiety issues are coming in also in between this within these issues, and at the same time also making people feel that they're in a point of hopelessness and helplessness.
In the mid token, we understand many people do not understand the legal rights when dealing with ICE or immigration enforcement. What exactly should somebody or someone do if they are arrested or stopped by an immigration officer?
I'll encourage anybody who doesn't, who is an immigrant, who's either in court or not in court. to have an immigration lawyer, and in that case, a competent immigration lawyer who knows how to fight these cases. These cases are tough even for competent attorneys, but you need somebody who knows and who can preserve your rights. If you are arrested, I think the first thing is you have to be in touch with an attorney. As right now, most immigration lawyers are extremely busy. So if you don't keep contact with them at the very beginning, it'll be very hard for them to be available should something happen to you. So I'll encourage people to get in touch with a competent immigration attorney so that they can be able to, at the very minimum, have somebody, in case something happens, they can call them immediately. Because you may be arrested, detained, and then the attorney can get you out on bond or can get you out on ROR, on your own recognizance, or can stop a deportation that was about to happen because you didn't have an attorney. Especially if you don't have an attorney, you face you're more likely to face a removal out of the country. I'll encourage people who are in immigration court to ensure they go to court with an attorney. Failure to have an attorney can be very dangerous. What's happening in court right now, in immigration court right now, is the DHS attorneys will come and dismiss the case. So you no longer have a hearing. And then when you get out of court, you're going to be arrested immediately and removed under what we call expedited removal. So people have to be very careful when they go to court, and I'll encourage people to go to court with a competent immigration attorney, that even if the DHS tries to dismiss the case, the attorney can fight to stop them from doing that. But those are tough cases, so you need an experienced and knowledgeable attorney to handle those issues.
We've heard a report of Africans, especially those coming in these sub-Saharan country, facing a lot of challenges when it comes to asylum claim and detention. Why are African particularly vulnerable under this administration approach?
I mean, I don't think it's specifically under this administration approach. It's generally the way they apply for asylum. I always encourage anybody who applies for asylum to use a competent attorney, use a lawyer. Most people come in, you go to your own community, there's somebody in the community who can write a story for you, okay? And then they submit the application, then after some time you get your work permit and you feel you're doing well. The truth of the matter is the standards to win an asylum is very tough. You have to show you meet certain categories and criteria in the narrative you provide. Just to give a brief, on asylum you have to show either you are fleeing because of political reasons, nationality, race, membership of a social group, or religion. After you've shown that, you have to show you are a victim of persecution. And to show persecution, you have to show your persecution is either by the government or the government entity or government entity, or the government is unable to protect you. And also you have to show that you cannot settle anywhere else in your country. So when you write your narrative narrative has to meet those standards. They have to meet each and every element of those standards for you to be able to succeed in asylum. And for you to meet those kind of standards, generally you need an attorney to do that. As therefore, most cases sometimes we find what I find is that they have somebody wrote their narrative. You can have the same story written 100 times by the same people, and all they change is the name and the place and the location, which becomes a problem. So, but I do understand the reason why people do that is because also immigration attorneys don't come cheap. People have to be able to spend the money. But I'll always encourage people to, where necessary, use an immigration attorney, because if they find that you filed a frivolous asylum application, you're not eligible to get any benefit. Even if you filed an asylum application and the case is pending and the government rules that the case was frivolous, meaning you lied on your statements, okay? Therefore, that will mean that even if you are to get another benefit, maybe your child files for you or your spouse files for you, you'll not be able to get a green card at that time because you've violated one of our very strong cardinal rule in immigration by filing a frivolous asylum application.
Can you speak a little bit on the long-term emotional toll you're an attorney and on the daily basis you sort of meet these people? Can you talk a little bit about? how this is affecting these families.
Absolutely. I mean, from what I've seen, there's a lot of mental health issues that are going on right now with a lot of immigrants. I mean, people call us very desperate. Sometimes you feel like you're the therapist because of the stress and the toll that this issue of immigration is causing. People get to a point of helplessness and hopelessness, and that is really affecting people negatively. You can see from even their work and their association, people become more isolated. They are in perpetual fear. They see a different car, they think the ICE is coming for them. So it's affecting a lot of people mentally, and then also it's affecting their children. If their children are citizens, their children are seeing their parents are in perpetual worry, which will affect the performance of the children in school. I have noticed a lot of that with a lot of my clients, and yeah, it's very concerning actually.
Do you come across African who actually going through the TPS and the DACA program for African
Yes, I
immigrants?
do.
How and how do they navigate through
I
this?
mean, DACA is still there, okay, but people are they're actually allowed to renew. Most of the DACA people are now in the 30s, I think, because it was early late 20s, late 20s, early 30s now. Um, TPS, we had like Cameroonians going through TPS and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, the problem with both of those programs that they don't, at the end of the day, grant you a green card. The only thing they give you is a work permit. Okay, and DACA could allow you to travel back and forth, but you don't get the full benefit of you don't get the full immigration benefit in these cases, and so it keeps you in a process whereby you are legally able to stay in the United States, but you're not able to eventually get a green card. And the way the Trump administration canceled some of the DACA for Venezuelans, Haitians, and Cubans, it will not be surprising in the next couple of months they come and cancel the ones from Africa. So it's going to be a big problem. And the ones that have been canceled for some of our Cuban clients, the cases have been cancelled, and they are also fearing of facing removal, and some of them have been removed at the moment. So it's DACA was a protection during a different administration, but in this administration, DACA and not DACA, basically TPS specifically is facing challenges. Yeah.
The Trump administration just signed a an executive order banning some country to come to the United States. Can you walk us through how this affects people who are actually in the process from those countries?
Yeah.
How is that going to affect them? Because there's this ban all over this country, and I'm sure there are people that were actually in the process trying to get their immigration status from either those countries coming to the United States or students coming to. How is that affecting them long
Unfortunately,
term?
I think the ban, what the ban did was that it stopped people from getting new visas. But generally,
Regardless of the
yes, yes. And
process.
if you're in the process, it doesn't matter what process you are. It doesn't matter whether it's a petition for a spouse or whether it's a student visa. By June 9th, I think, was it June 9th, or I think, uh, yeah,
The June 9th.
stop process. But if you had a valid visa that from those countries, you can still exercise it. But once it expires, you'll not be able to exercise it. So it's very challenging for people who are waiting for their spouses to come, and for students who are waiting for their F1 visas to be approved. All those things got cancelled.
What are the chances of somebody that already had a visa to come to the United States? Let's say it's from Chad, and they're coming to the US. Would they be stopped at the border
I think
entry?
they'll just have more scrutiny. But if the visa was already issued before the ban, they'll be able to come in. Let's say I assume that a student who left last year went for vacation and is coming back. I don't think we'll have a problem. I think what's going to occur, the newer students who are supposed to come, those are the people who are waiting for their visas. Those are the people who will have a challenge to come into the United States.
This immigration issue has affected a lot of African family, as you're aware, as a lawyer who actually deals with them on a daily basis. What should African community do collectively to protect, organize, and advocate against unjust deportation and these policies, on your view?
I think information is key. Uh, Information is key. I mean, there's a lot of things in the internet that can cause a lot of anxiety and fear, but people have to be informed on what their situation. African organizations should actually organize situations whereby they can do an online meeting with an immigration attorney to discuss and to inform the community what's going on with immigration at the moment. I'll not advocate for people to congregate in one area, because you never know whether ICE is going to come and raid that area when you guys are coming. So I think the best place for people to meet is to meet online, maybe at Google Groups or stuff like that, and that will be much more beneficial. And they should get informed about. Everybody should be informed about that, especially if you don't have your papers on. Everybody should be informed about their situation, and people should know what options they have. Okay, and they also have to figure out there's also an situation whereby they might be sent home. So they should also have the plan that in case something happens, they're able to go home peacefully. And so somebody should be able to have their information, because one of the issue challenges we get sometimes is somebody gets arrested. He was staying by himself. We are trying to get him out on bond. Nobody knows where his keys are. Nobody knows the information about whether he can get his copies of his taxes or things that will be necessary for him to get out on bond, because he stays in isolation, which is a big challenge. People should not be afraid to talk about their problems, even though people say that people report, which I find it was more of a rumor than anything else. I don't think many people are reporting each other because everybody is afraid. But of course, there are always in every community there are always people who behave in a very depraved manner, which can affect the rest of the community. But I'll just advise that people get informed about their situation. People know that sometimes bad things can happen to them, and if it happens, what they need to do or who needs to know, who else need to know information about them, so that even if you hire an attorney and the attorney is coming in, it's easy for him to get the documents you need. You know, it's easy to, for example, if you're detained, it's easy for us to show, oh, here's your lease, here's your bank account, here's you have a community member, you used to go to this church, your friends and family, all that stuff is very vital sometimes in these cases.
As we conclude this session, what do you what would you personally advise immigrant who are actually going through this to do and moving forward with this current situation we have?
I'd advise people to lie low. I mean, people have to lie low. I mean, avoid things like getting traffic tickets, speeding, small things that can cause you a big problem. I mean, I have a case right now, and the only thing, the person was speeding a little bit in a school zone and was arrested. And before you know it, ICE was called, and now he's in detention, and now you're trying to get him out. So they have to be self-aware about the situation, and they have to know the country is now in a point whereby they want to try and deport people as much as possible. Recently, they mentioned that they want to deport 3,000 people per day. That means they are going to get any low-hanging fruit available. And so, if you're driving or you are driving a suspended license, things that can trigger your interaction with the local law enforcement, one has to be very careful. Sometimes maybe just avoid it by taking the bus, but avoid circumstances that can make you encounter local law enforcement, because in certain states the local law enforcement is very eager to arrest you. So I just urge people to be very careful in a personal level, be self-aware about the situations that is going on, and be alert. To be very alert about their surroundings, and don't assume anything.
Oh, final question. I got this with one of our viewers who actually had sent. So, a 19-year-old applying for citizenship, but mother's not doesn't have a status and need to be put on is those information. Would that affect, or would that have any effect to the process?
Okay, that case is a little bit complicated because how did the 19-year-old how did he get his green card to apply for citizenship?
The question was, would her applying for citizenship have her mother in trouble because she's
No,
illegal?
that has nothing to do with the mother.
Has-
That is her application for citizenship.
because the information of the mother will be
Yeah,
in
the
her
information of the mother is
application.
there for identity purposes.
It's not
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
affect
for
anything.
identity purposes. You have to know who you are, where you came from, and stuff like that. How will they know the mother is here and the mother is not in Africa or Europe or something like that? That's not the issue. The purpose of that identity is based on what she put on the birth certificate. So it should not impact her. But I'll advise her to use an attorney on these cases. They are applying for citizenship. There's this very strict scrutiny. Okay, she should use an attorney to apply for these things. And this is the time when nobody should take a chance. Okay, spend some little money, use an attorney, make sure that you get stuff because you don't want. It's like insurance. You can drive without insurance for 6 months, nobody arrests you, but the day you're caught without insurance, it becomes a problem. So insure yourself by hiring an attorney to save you from that situation rather than taking a risk. Because if you take the risk and something's wrong, it can be very terrible.
But in the real world, like it used to be, that wouldn't be a
It would
problem.
be a problem,
That you
yeah.
said, right?
But now things are different. I think I urge everybody to use an attorney in every level of yes,
Just
yes.
to be safe. Mr. Odiambo, Blaise Odiambo, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you coming in, and we wish you good luck in your endeavor. We know you're so busy right now dealing with a lot of cases. So if somebody want to reach out to you, how should they do to get involved? Are you taking new
Yeah,
cases, or
yeah.
are you
We
able
take
to
cases.
get
We take
new
cases
clients?
based on we evaluate the cases and take cases based on what's required. But if they had to get me, they could find me at log into my website www.blaiselawfirm.com, which is BLAISE lawfirm.com, and they'll get me there, and we will be happy to assist them if they need it.
Now we're gonna leave Mr. Blaise Odiambo information down there for somebody who wants to reach him to, and the phone number too. If you want to
Yes.
be reached, people will definitely get in touch with you. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much for your time today, and we'll
Okay.
see you next
Thank you.
time.
Take care. All the best.
Attorney Blaise Odiambo is a well-respected immigration lawyer with over a decade of experience defending immigration, refugees, and asylum seekers in the United States. He's worked with several African community, legal aids, and organizations, and represented a lot of African immigrants facing deportation around the United States. It's been an honor to have him on the show today. See you next time.